the last time we met. In fact, I think we did discuss her position, and I believe, in fact, she had passed away that afterwards. If you can have a minute of silence, please. Thank you. I will just say a few words about Sue before we progress with the meeting. Obviously, those who did attend her memorial service will have heard a very good eulogy from her daughter, which I think identified exactly Sue's character and life, actually. And from my point of view, she was absolutely first class vice chairman. She attended everything I didn't want to do. And a few other things. No, she was absolutely first class. And I think when we look at the number of committees and things she was on, and then in her private life, she was a member of a choir, she was a member of this, and everybody that I spoke to after the memorial service was absolutely so full of praise and admiration for what she did. And she did manage to get to one of her bucket list about 2 months before she passed away. So I think that we can say that she thoroughly enjoyed her life, thoroughly enjoyed her time also as a councillor. I will invite anyone else if anybody else does want to have any words specifically about her. If not, we'll move on with the meeting. Thank you. Fire announcement. As I haven't got a vice chairman yet, but hopefully by the next meeting we will. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're not expecting a fire drill today, so if the fire alarm sounds, we will evacuate the building. There are 2 fire exits from this room. One is through the double doors where you came in, and the other door is to the right of the stage, which leads to the external fire escape. Please know that you should not use a lift in the event of a fire, and in the event of an evacuation, we meet on the left of the driveway at the main entrance to Thorpe Lodge. Thank you. Right, do we have any declarations of interest? Good. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from the following councillors: Councillor Adams, Councillor Catchpole, Councillor Copplestone, Councillor Harrison, Councillor Moncur, Councillor Neeson, Councillor Peck, Councillor Riley, Councillor Ryman Tubb, Councillor J. Thomas, and Councillor Clancy. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, if we can move to the minutes of the meeting of the 15th of December on pages 9 to 20. Can we have a show of hands that they're happy with, everyone's happy with those minutes? Thank you very much indeed. And does anyone have any matters arising from those minutes that they wish to raise? Okay, thank you. Announcements. My engagement on page 21. Despite there's only 5, I did just want to have a word about a couple of them. The Burns Night celebration hosted in Ipswich. Just in case people are wondering, I paid for those expenses to go down there myself. And the reason was the current mayor of Ipswich is in fact the previous councillor of this council, John Cook, who members of the Labour Party may may be familiar with the name, but he's been my adversary since about the mid-90s. So I felt it was nice to go and spend an evening with him, which was very good. And they do know how to do a good Burns Night celebration. The Holocaust Memorial, which I attended, was the first time I'd attended that, and it was a very, very moving service. I must admit. The 70th anniversary of the East Coast floods in Yarmouth. Again, there's some members of Yarmouth, or some residents of Yarmouth, who had experienced the floods, being about 9, 10, 11 at the time, and could remember it. And they actually had some very good conversations with all of us afterwards, which was enlightening. The fact there was no flood warning system or anything at the time was phenomenal. And then just to finish up with the opening of Kingsley and Mart, that is one of the highlights of every chairman of Norfolk and some of the Lincolnshire and Cambridgeshire councils. And on that, other announcements, leader?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to bring everyone's attention to the county deals, the county deal and the consultation that's currently out and running. Obviously, as a council, we will be responding to that, and we have an extraordinary meeting on the 2nd of March to cover that. But I'd just like to ask you to encourage your residents and your parish and town councils to also look at the consultation and respond if they feel so minded to do so. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Members of the Cabinet? Judy and Fran.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to share some figures with Council. In Q2, we collected 548 tonnes of food waste, and in Q3, we collected 1,050 tonnes of food waste, which is good. Although at the end of the day, the purpose of this is to actually reduce food waste. But the residual waste stream decreased by the same amount. So it does show that we've moved a lot of food out of the residual scheme into the recycling. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to highlight, many things we do really, but I know you all were notified about our proposal to extend the Handy Person Plus to care leavers, which I'm very, very pleased about. But also alongside that, I just wanted to say, some of you, particularly county members, would have heard about the strategy in Norfolk County Council to support young people through flourishing in Norfolk. So tonight I'd like you to, I'd like whole council really, to make a pledge to support young people in Broadland through Flourish. As you know, we already have a great commitment and our care leaver covenant to support care leavers to 25 to live independently. They're exempt from council tax. They've automatically given a local connection on the housing register, and we give them support through the Help Hub, along with many other things. And also, as an employer, we are a care leaver friendly employer. So if a care leaver comes to us, we will give them an interview. We'll help support them to get interviews, not only just here, but elsewhere as well. So I just wanted to make that pledge on behalf of the council. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do welcome that. Thank you. Anybody else, Cabinet member? No. Oh. I look forward to it. Okay, Head of Pay Service.
Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of things, just to point out to members if they're not aware that we've been shortlisted in the LGC Awards for this year for the work on the Broadland Food Innovation Centre. So it's a really tight competition. I'm judging one of the categories, so I know that there's a lot of entries going in this year. So for the Broadland Food Innovation Centre to be onto the shortlist of a national competition is recognition indeed. We'll wait to see when the finals happen to see whether we manage to land the prize. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions? There are none. Public speaking, there's none. Can I ask Councillor Mull to present the minutes to council for receiving?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to present the non-exempt minutes from the meetings of the 3rd of January, 24th and the 31st of January.
Okay, thank you. And cabinet minutes of the 10th of January.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just ask council to receive the non-exempt minutes of the 10th of January and also to receive the minutes of the 7th of February.
Thank you.
There are a number of points that need dealing with in the minutes of the 7th of January. Items 10.1 and 10.2 will be dealt with further down the agenda. Item 10.3, Treasury Management Strategy Statement 2023-24. I'd like to ask the portfolio holder for finance to present to council.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This is obviously, as members are aware, this is a regulatory requirement that the Treasury Management Strategy is approved annually by full council. There has been no changes. We've breached none of the prudential indicators. We have no borrowing, and we have the ability to borrow, as in previous years. If we decided there was a project we would like to borrow money for, we could do that. All the ways that we can do that are set out in the strategy. And there are, as ever, as we want to invest ethically, there are countries there that are on the list, but we are still not investing in them. So having said that, I would like to recommend to council items 1 through to 7 on page, they're actually on page 51 of the cabinet papers and on page 60, they're repeated. Thank you.
Do you have any comments? If not, can we go to the vote? Oh, sorry, seconder. Sorry, my apologies.
Thank
Do
you,
we have a
Chair.
seconder?
I would be pleased to second the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Leggett.
Thank you.
And do we have any discussion, or can we go to the vote? Okay, can we have a show of hands then, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. That moves us on to item 10.4, being the Council Tax Assistance Scheme for 2023-24. And again, I'd ask the portfolio holder for finance to present that to council.
Yes, thank you again, Leader. As members will remember, last year we went through an extensive research into our council tax assistance scheme, and we made many changes. These are still being embedded, but they've done very well this year. It's worked very well, looking like we did do a really good job. It took about 6 months last year to get through it all anyway. As ever, there is always the Council Tax Hardship Fund if anyone slips through the net. So we will never, ever leave somebody without assistance. So again, I would like to recommend to Council to approve the Council Tax Scheme for 23-24, and it's minute number 84 of the Cabinet Papers. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Emsall. Do we have any comment, discussion? Okay, can we have a show of hands, please, in favour? Thank you. Okay, moving on. Can I ask Councillor Ward to present the decisions of the Planning Committee, please?
Thank you, Chairman. All matters resolved.
Thank you. And Councillor Nurden, the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to present the minutes of the meeting of the 26th of January, Council to receive. Thank you.
And Councillor King for the Licence and Regulatory Committee, please.
Thank you very much. I'd like the council to accept the non-exempt minutes of the meeting that was held on the 13th of December and advise the council that all matters have been resolved.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the main business of the evening. Council tax resolution. There are 3 elements of this debate. 10.1 is a recommendation from Cabinet on the revenue budget and council tax setting for 23-24. And then recommendation from Cabinet for minute 82, page 56, on the capital strategy and capital programme, and the council tax resolution on page 107. Can I call on Councillor Mancini-Boyle to move these, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. There are 3 recommendations, as the Chairman has said. I will talk about all 3 in the round, though, and then obviously we will vote separately, as is the Constitution. Yet again, what a year. We began with the war in Ukraine. This resulted in the energy crisis and subsequent cost of living rise affecting everyone. We also saw what we hoped was the tail end of COVID restrictions. Then along came nutrient neutrality and all the challenges that brought with it. We celebrated the Platinum Jubilee and then subsequently the extremely sad passing of our beloved Queen. This has been probably one of the most challenging years for residents, business and councils. As ever, Broadland District Council has risen to these challenges in spades, delivering on so many levels and with exciting projects aplenty. I will name just a few. We welcomed GridServe to Broadland Gate. This was one of the first in the country. Broadland Gate has gone from strength to strength, even welcoming the police to their new home. This shows the confidence that business has in Broadland as a forward-thinking and ambitious council. We are there to welcome them. We completed on the purchase of the Horizon Centre, which will deliver huge savings on both our finances and carbon footprint. We will now be able to take this further as we have been awarded a decarbonisation grant to replace the boilers for air source heat pumps. It will also deliver on bringing our team together, which will in turn enable them to continue to provide fantastic service to our residents. We constantly challenge them to push the envelope, and they do all they can all the time to deliver. We delivered the game-changing Broadland Food Innovation Centre on time and in budget. This all in challenging times during COVID and even a few storms thrown in. This could not have come at a better time with food security in the headlines more than ever. Again, because this administration is so determined to make a difference, we granted the local development order at Honingham some time ago. This has resulted in attracting the largest vertical farm in the country to our site. This again proves that Broadland is open for business, and these businesses provide high quality jobs for our district. We rolled out the much anticipated district-wide food waste collection, successfully I would add. Residents have wanted this for so long, and yet again, this administration has delivered. This, along with the textiles and small electrical and battery collections, will all help reach our 60% recycling goal. We are already way ahead of other Norfolk councils. For Broadland District Council, this has always been one of our key priorities. On behalf of this Conservative administration, I would like to thank our residents and businesses for playing their part in helping us achieve this. We have declared that we will reach net zero carbon emissions by 2030. This is not just virtue signalling, it is made possible by decisions this administration have been making for years and will continue to do so. The launch of a new environmental strategy has more detail on how we can and will achieve this goal. We have agreed to the work required on the Frettenham depot. The extra green credentials we have committed to will go a long way to reducing our carbon footprint and deliver a depot equivalent to a BREEAM Excellent building. The savings from this work will be repaid to the Environmental Reserve to continue our work. We launched the Bins app. This makes life easier for residents in so many ways. Changes in collection dates over holiday periods, reporting missed bins, and helping with recycling. We have seen a large increase in the need for temporary accommodation. This is extremely costly for councils. Yet again, this administration has seen this as an opportunity to come up with a solution. We are already in the process of purchasing a 20-bedroom property and have set aside more money recently to purchase more. This will not only save the council and therefore all residents money, but it will allow us to provide the standard of accommodation we wish to make available to those in need. Work will be carried out on any properties we purchase to make them as energy efficient as possible. This will also be an important part of our environmental strategy. Again, Broadland has been forward-thinking with regard to nutrient neutrality, the issue affecting many of the Norfolk districts. It is this administration that has set aside the funding from the Environmental Reserve to help set up the mitigation process required to get us all building much needed homes again. As this funding is repaid, it will be returned to the Environmental Reserve to continue our green initiatives. As we are able to get building again, this council can play its part and look for sites where we can to build the type of quality, energy efficient and affordable homes we have delivered in the past through Broadland growth. This is always a win-win for the council and residents alike. We are well on the way to publishing the Broadland Country Park Master Plan. The country park is already proving a huge success as more and more we all realise the benefits of open spaces. Carrabrek is up and running again. This has always been seen as a really important service we can provide to residents to help in their career path or their businesses. Running alongside this, we launched our Business Builder programme. This will help businesses grow and prosper. This is more vital than ever after COVID. And just to make things even more difficult for ourselves, we requested a peer review. While this was a stressful, challenging week, it was also a great success. The peer team identified some resounding successes. One of these was our Community Help Hub. It was held as an exemplar. Indeed, the peer team were so envious of our offer and wanted to replicate it into their own councils. They were impressed at how quickly we had managed to pull the one team together. They also mentioned how ambitious we are as a council. They also had some suggestions for us going forward. We have taken these on board and they will be back to see us very soon to mark our homework. All the projects I have mentioned have been achieved whilst carrying on with business as usual. In fact, business as usual seems to include having to administer regular monies received from central government. This is no mean feat, no mean feat in itself. I'd like to demonstrate the level of the challenge that faces the officers. In 22-23, there have been 6 different schemes to help our residents with the cost of living. The total paid to our residents has been £7.9 million so far. Officers always rise to the challenge, and we are always one of the very first to get monies out the door to those residents most in need in a timely manner. Our work, however, is not done. This year, we'll see the business case for a new IT system. We will move into our new home. We will continue to seek out properties to solve the temporary accommodation situation. We will continue to seek viable projects for Broadland growth. We will forge ahead with both our net zero and recycling targets. We are very successful in attracting investment into our district, and we will continue with that approach. We will continue to provide excellent services in a cost-effective manner. We will always have the community at heart in everything we do. At the heart of our strategic plan is the vision for our place, working together to create the best place for everyone, now and for future generations. This vision is underpinned by the Council's strategic priorities: growing the economy, supporting individuals and empowering communities, protecting and improving the natural and built environment whilst maximising quality of life, moving with the times, working smartly and collaboratively. With this in mind, every year when setting the council's budget, this administration's starting point is not to raise council tax, not to cut services, and to continue to seek out more efficiencies. This means finding better ways of doing things, not reducing them. You can see in the papers, as with our residents and businesses, there are many pressures on the council, and I will address just a few of the larger ones. With regards to waste, we have set aside additional funds for the increase in the MRF gate fees. These are always very volatile. As ever, this administration will always do what we can to reduce future risks. The food waste rollout is also a pressure, as we are still waiting to hear from central government on the promised new burdens funding. We will continue to lobby for this. We are, however, in a far better position than most councils, as we are already doing it. There is also the pressure on the waste contract through true-up and inflation. Again, you can see the strain due to temporary accommodation. As mentioned earlier, we are addressing this, and as business cases come forward, we will see that the figures will stack up and the strain reduced or removed completely. Staffing costs for 23-24 have been built into the budget, including an increase in the real living wage and performance-related pay. As per policy, fees and charges will rise in line with RPI as at the 30th of September. Funding from central government was slightly better than we had expected. Uncertainty still remains in funding moving forward. We constantly lobby for more than a one-year settlement to enable a more robust prediction moving forward. We do always take a cautious approach regarding funding, and we are then pleasantly surprised when it is better. We know we still have savings to make and also increase our income to close the gap going forward in the medium-term financial plan. Some of the options are included within your papers. One of these is to increase council tax. This Conservative administration has been managing the finances of Broadland District Council in a sound, prudent way for many years. We also realise the financial challenges our residents currently face. We do not wish to add to that burden. That is why we have worked tirelessly with our officers to produce a balanced budget with no increase in council tax. This is the second year that we have managed to freeze Broadland's share of council tax. No other Norfolk council has achieved this. It is this Conservative administration working with officers that has made this possible with no detriment to service. Therefore, Broadland's share of council tax will remain at £129.91 for a Band D property. This firmly cements us as one of the lowest rates of any Norfolk council. As a for instance, our neighbours in the Liberal Democrat-run North Norfolk have just set their Band D rate at £163.65. They do not provide anywhere near the level of services such as food waste collection that we do. This means that this Conservative administration are definitely doing something right and have been for many years. I have to thank the entire officer team in helping us to achieve our vision for Broadland, to be prosperous, safe, with a great quality of life by protecting the environment, yet remaining innovative and being a partner of choice to work with collaboratively. Special thanks from me has to go to Debbie Lorimer, Rodney Fincham, and the entire finance team. I hope that cross-party members feel able to vote for this balanced budget, full of ambition and a fully funded capital programme, whilst requiring zero increase in our share of council tax. And with that, I would like to put the first recommendation through to council, 10.1, minute number 81, page 54, the revenue, budget and council tax for 23-24. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, can I open the debate? I will take amendments now. I'll take the Green amendment first that is on our papers.
Hi, hello, thank you. The amendment is to the capital strategy and capital programme. So is it not the revenue that...
Yeah, sorry. We'll vote on them separately, but you move them all together.
Thank you. So this is a proposed amendment to the capital programme. I don't know if it's helpful for me to read out the background to the amendment. It is in the papers, or maybe I'll just do some points.
Just raise some points. Everyone should have the printed word in front of them.
Yes, thank you. So
on a screen.
So Broadland could increase the number of houses retrofitted with energy efficient measures. I think this would help some residents who are on low incomes or who have poorly insulated houses, but are not currently eligible for government schemes. If we put some funding into retrofitting their houses, we would help them with the cost of living by reducing their energy bills And it would also help to boost the local economy by hopefully employing local fitters to do the work. So we'd like to propose that this council reduces the capital that's set aside to fund Broadland growth, which is currently over 2 years, it amounts to £7 million. We're proposing that we reduce that amount to £5 million and ring fence 2 million for the purpose of providing a programme to retrofit houses in the district. We'd like to propose that the remaining 5 million allocated currently for Broadland growth would be redistributed in the capital programme with £2 million over the first 2 years. It's the first year, from 23 to 24, and then £3 million from 24 to 25. The design of the exact programme would be delegated to the Assistant Director of Individuals and Families, who could ensure value for money and target the assistance to residents who are most in need. Ideally with a system that would have the benefit of bringing back some income to the council. Broadland growth is a form of investment where the council stands to get a commercial return from the £7 million, which would be loaned for various projects. So ideally, we would like to demonstrate payback for the council in the new programme that we're suggesting to retrofit houses. But at the moment, we've noticed that Broadland growth currently has no projects in the pipeline as far as we can see. I'd argue that the value of the allocated capital will fall with time, particularly as inflation is running as it is, and costs of construction are increasing all the time. I'd like to argue that some money therefore could be spent now from the council's budget to help residents who are currently struggling. We know from April this year it's likely that residents will be struggling even more unless the government steps in to do something significant to help them. If we retrofit houses, it has a payback benefit in terms of fuel economies in the future. We have consulted the Assistant Director of Finance, who has confirmed that this proposed budget amendment would leave the budget still robust and the council would still have adequate reserves.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder? Thank you. Do you wish to speak or reserve the right? Okay, thank you. Do you accept, can I ask if you accept the amendments? Right. So I'll open up for debate. I've got Councillor Leggett and then Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Chair. I was a bit surprised to read this, but never mind. I'd just like to draw to everyone's attention that we did offer green loans, i.e. loans for solar, when we did our Solar Together project. These weren't taken up. However, we are now launching a green loan project. This has been drafted for some time, but there had to be some minor legal adjustments. This facilitates interest-free loans for residents to install renewable or energy-saving measures to their homes, which will reduce both energy costs and carbon emissions. The council is running this scheme in partnership with Eastern Savings and Loans Credit Union. The loans which are available can be up to £5,000, paid back over 3 years, and can be used for measures like installing solar panels or loft or wall installation. They can also be combined with national grants, such as the government's boiler upgrade grant, offering £5,000 for air source heat pumps. So this is a prototype, and we have committed just under £100,000 for this, and we will see how it goes.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Chairman. While I thank the Green Party and Councillor Elmer for putting this proposal forward, it's nice to see that they are looking at the budget and seeing what can be done. I can't support this. As such, Broadland Growth is our development company that we are using to bring income to this council, but also to bring other community benefits, not least affordable homes. And all the developments we've done so far, we have delivered affordable homes above the policy requirement. So I wouldn't want to see us removing funding from Broadland Growth. I'd like to see that be in a position when it does have projects that it can take forward to be able to move with speed to deliver those projects, which is anticipated to be able to do later this year. But as I say, that's subject to the housing market, and will no doubt come back to council to deal with those issues when we get to that point. So from my point of view, I can't support this amendment and would not want to see funding being removed from Broadland Growth. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Roper.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, one of those unusual positions where you entirely agree with the spirit of an amendment, but you don't feel able to support it on the night. And the reason why I don't feel able to support it is that I don't feel that allocating a lump of capital without necessarily a strategy behind it at this stage, or any revenue support through the revenue budget, is necessarily sustainable in year one. So much as I entirely agree that there are benefits to retrofitting, I don't think that tonight is necessarily the time to make that bigger change in the budget by moving that money without the strategy in place. That said, after May, we might have an administration which is going to put together a strategy on retrofitting, and this might well be something which we will happily return to and work with Councillor Lamming at some point in the future. But tonight, unfortunately, I'm not able to support this amendment.
Thank you. Other members? Okay. So I've got Councillor Davis and then Councillor Mancini-Boyle and then Councillor Lamy to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of a strategy, we do have a warm homes programme, and within the delivery plan, there's a focus on supporting individuals, and this is a key part of the strategy. So I'd just like to refer to the excellent Warm Homes Programme report that was submitted to the Environmental Excellence Policy Development Panel meeting of the 8th of December, because it, I think, encapsulates some of the key issues that we're having to address here. It says the recent cost of living crisis, specifically the enormous rise in costs of energy, has resulted in increasing numbers of people struggling to afford to keep their homes warm in winter. We acknowledge that, we've recognised that. National Energy Action has reported that with average household energy bills reaching over £3,000 a year, a predicted 8.2 million UK households will be in fuel poverty. And data from the government's published fuel poverty statistics reports estimate that 6,700 Broadland households were living in fuel poverty in 2020. And in the context of these increasing energy costs, rising inflation and wage stagnation, this figure is increasing, and this winter to over 11,000 households, and probably still rising further in 2023. These aren't small numbers, and it's a horrendous situation to be in. So as well as having detrimental effects on health and well-being, cold leaky homes contribute to our carbon emissions through poor insulation and energy inefficient heating. And we've just had, a trial of the carbon literacy training this afternoon, where we've accepted and recognized that we need urgently to address the issue of carbon emissions. We said, and within that training, about 30 million buildings in the UK are responsible for around 30% of our national emissions. And the vast majority of these emissions result from heating. So decarbonising buildings is central to the net zero challenge and to supporting our national targets. We need to insulate homes and install low carbon heating. So in total, across all funding streams, the council has invested over 6.1 million in improving 795 residents' homes. Those are the figures from the report, when there are 11,000 homes in fuel poverty in Broadland. So that's the scale of the problem we're trying to address here. So the resources for the delivery of activities under the Norfolk Warm Homes are covered by external grant funding. And that's great. I mean, there's a team that really works hard to get those grants. And they'll continue to compete for grant funding to enable the continuation of this Warm Homes programme. But there'll be many households in Broadland who will continue to face fuel poverty. And they're in fuel poverty now, not later, now. So as the report states, again, referring to the report, the ability to support households that are eligible through these government grant-assisted programmes becomes more imperative. As well as reducing energy costs, the installation of energy efficiency measures will also, as we've said, contribute to the carbon reduction targets. So I'm just urging that in this cost of living, energy and climate crisis, it is time for the council to review its priorities and how it spends the funds that are available. And those are funds that are available now. It's notable that a key message from this year's budget consultation exercise was that 74% of respondents supported the targeting of resources primarily on those most in need. So that's from the budget consultation exercise. That's residents saying, yes, we need to focus on those most in need. And with reference to the vision again in the Broadland District Council delivery plan, the Green Party firmly believes that supporting individuals and empowering communities should be a priority at this time. And it's supported by the consultation. So overall, given those figures, given the dire situation that we are in as a country and many people in Broadland, we've put forward this amendment because that funding is available now. The need is there now, and I urge you to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mancini-Ball.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I can't support, I do not accept the amendment. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why, actually. I actually think this has been poorly thought through. To give you an example, bearing in mind, as you say, we have been awarded, because Broadland District Council historically have always been very good at delivering projects. So we were awarded the Warm Home Funds on behalf of Norfolk to administer them. And just to let you know, there is a new grant in April, so that will continue in April. Now, there has been issues with delivering this. So to actually completely retrofit 150 properties, that would now be a cost of £2 million for 150 properties. Now, problems have occurred with delivering this because the rules keep changing on the levels that the properties have to be retrofit. We can't find contractors to deliver them. We can't get the products. And for instance, to completely wrap, say, a static home, it's an absolute fortune now. So it's very difficult to totally retrofit a property. So just to let you know what the last Warm Homes Funds delivered for Broadland, a total approved value, including spend, of the 1.78 million that was spent across Norfolk was £47,419.72, with 8 households receiving approval. And there are 11 more in the pipeline where the application's been completed but have not yet received approval. So this is the level of the cost it would be to deliver what you're hoping to deliver. The second reason I can't accept this amendment is you will have just heard what I've said regarding the medium-term financial plan and gaps moving forward. I personally would rather that we deliver something through Broadland growth and get a return than have that money spent and we have to go back to all of the residents and tell them we're raising council tax every year to fill the gap. Personally, I do not, and I'm sure my other Conservative members will feel the same, will not see that as an option. And as far as Broadland Growth having no projects, no, it hasn't had, and we do need nutrient neutrality solved, obviously, but projects are being looked at. We've now got a member of staff dealing with Broadland Growth actively looking for projects. So I'm very confident that the money will not be sitting there not doing anything, and we will be able to get building again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Amy, I'll ask you to sum up.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, I believe that everyone has the right to a warm home that's affordable to heat. And so improving energy efficiency is central, as we've just said, to tackling both the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis. We in this country are, I admit, slowly working towards having all new homes and workplaces being built to the highest energy efficiency standards. We need to go a lot further and faster with that, but we are making some slow progress. Most residents in Broadland and in the UK, though, live in existing homes, which therefore need to be retrofitted. 40% of UK homes were built before 1945. The UK has some of the most leaky and least as an energy inefficient housing in Europe. We know that buildings account for 23% of UK greenhouse gas emissions. We need to reduce those emissions by simply improving insulation would be a step in many houses. On the 13th of October, Broadland District Council voted through a motion with the following words. Broadland District Council recognises the need to take action to combat the effects of climate change. The council, it said, has a track record for putting environmental concerns at the heart of delivery. Now, I would argue that this is one way of putting these words into action. And so I believe that we could definitely direct immediate further financial support to help people to retrofit their homes. We need a lot more funding and support from central government. We need to lobby hard for this, and I gather that apparently we are. But Broadland can actually take action itself as a council by allocating funds for this purpose. At the moment, you are currently beholden to government funding streams, and of course they come with certain demands, and that is one of the reasons why it can be difficult to put these programs into practice. If you develop your own strategy and your own program, it would be perhaps a little bit easier to develop the retrofitting that we need to do. There isn't a need to totally retrofit all homes. I mean, obviously that's the ideal, but even to start with an insulation program or, you know, all sorts of measures, it doesn't have to be a total retrofit on every single house. The cost of living crisis is already hitting some residents and families hard. It is only going to get worse. Things are not looking up. They're not looking particularly positive. We get soaring energy bills, and the increase in the cost of everyday essentials are actually leaving a lot of households pretty anxious about what's coming next. And I think we need to address that as a council by giving those most in need the help that's needed right now. The cheapest energy bill is the one you don't have to pay because your home is so well insulated, it needs little or no heating. And if we can help residents with that, particularly those who might be struggling at the moment, then I think that would be a wonderful move. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you indeed. Can we go to the vote, please? Because this budget, everything has to be recorded vote. Monitoring officer will read out your name and you vote in favour or against, whatever, of the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll call out each councillor's name. Please indicate for, against or abstain. Councillor Beadle. Abstain. Councillor Brennan. Okay. Councillor Britcher. Abstain. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Crotch. Against. Councillor Davis. For. Councillor Eden. For. Councillor Emsall. Against. Councillor Fisher,
Against.
Councillor Folger, Councillor Gurney, Councillor Hartley, Councillor Hempsall, Councillor Holland. Sorry, abstain. Councillor Karimi Gouvan-Lou. Abstain. Councillor Kelly.
Against.
Councillor King.
Against.
Councillor Laming. Councillor Lawn.
Against.
Councillor Lawrence.
For.
Councillor J Leggett.
Against.
Councillor K Leggett.
Against.
Councillor Mackey.
Against.
Councillor Mancini Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Murrell.
Against.
Councillor Nurdin.
Against.
Councillor Potter.
Against.
Councillor Roper.
Abstain.
Councillor Starling.
Abstain.
Councillor D Thomas.
Abstain.
Councillor S Vincent.
Against.
Councillor S Vincent.
Against.
Councillor K Vincent.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
Against.
And Councillor Wymark.
Against.
That amendment is lost. I'll just get the numbers for you. They were both against. So that's 5 for, 23 against and 7 abstentions. The amendment is lost.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hempsall.
Point of order, Chairman. K comes before S in the alphabet, please. Thank you.
I hadn't realised that. Thanks for pointing it out.
You're correct, it does, but not on my sheet.
Right. Moving on. I understand there's another amendment. Can I ask Councillor Roper, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Holland will explain more extensively on the Liberal Democrat approach to this budget, but spoilers first, I can say that our group will be voting in favour of the budget at the end of tonight. We are committed, as indeed are the administration, to a council tax freeze for the year going forwards. We were committed to it last year. We were committed to it the year before. We were the only party in this chamber, I think, who were committed to it the year before, so 3 years with the Liberal Democrats. Moving on to the amendment from the Liberal Democrats, there are two elements to this. I'll do them both slowly. They're fairly straightforward, so that you take them both together. One is a revenue change. The background to it is we identify that with nutrient neutrality, hopefully coming to an end soon, there is going to be a considerable amount of pressure on our planning department. Once business as usual returns, there will be backlogs in work, there will be surges in demand as far as applications goes. Now, we appreciate that a large proportion of that will be covered by increased admin fees, planning fees coming in, but what we would like to do is actually give a bit more flexibility to the director in planning and place to be able to move staffing resources around in order to meet that challenge. Therefore, the proposed amendment is to increase the staffing budget in planning by 5% as a 1 year only change. So the amendment is an addition of £66,000 to the planning staffing budget for 23-4 only, and that is to be funded by a draw from general reserves. Now, it might well be you don't need it, and if you don't need it and this returns as an underspend this time next year, we'll be only too delighted, but that will have meant, hopefully, that our residents won't have suffered from delays in getting their responses to planning dealt with. We want to make sure that the director doesn't have to come to us to ask for more money in year, that actually we're building that flexibility into the budget at this stage so that they can make decisions as far as overtime, whether it be increasing people hours, whether it be increasing the staffing on a temporary basis. So that's part one of our amendment. Part two is in the capital budget, and it's anticipated that 23-4 will see the greatest amount of pressure in terms of housing on families and individuals in recent memory, and heightened risks of homelessness. And as we said at the last meeting, the Liberal Democrats entirely endorsed the new approach taken by this council, getting confused, in terms of purchasing properties to increase capacity at the bottom of the housing market, hopefully relieve pressures of homelessness, and ultimately save the council money, because we think of not only the devastating impacts on individuals and their lives through homelessness, but also it comes at a huge financial cost to the council in terms of bed and breakfast. With this in mind, proposal number 2 is to increase the capital budget for the temporary accommodation section by £1 million. So to more than double our allocation for capital in the coming year, because we want us to go faster and we want us to go harder on this policy, because we can see that the need is there. The money will come from a reallocation from Broadland growth, in that will move £1 million from year 2. That's the 2024-5 allocation of Broadland growth, taking that out and instead putting that in to the temporary accommodation offer for 23-24, so that we can press on and hopefully purchase even more homes and get more roofs over people's heads in the year to come and meet the crisis that we're faced with. Suffice to say, both of these proposals have been passed the 151 officer, and the budget remains robust should they be adopted.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Holland, do you wish to speak now? Reserve your right. Okay. I'll open up the debate. Councillor Whitemark, Councillor Whitemark, and then Councillor Harpley.
Thank you, Chairman. Very interesting amendments. What I would say is that 5% additional money in planning probably isn't going to make much difference. And I say that because there is a countrywide, nationwide shortage of planners, as there are environmental health officers. It's very, very difficult to find them. So I have regular meetings with the Assistant Director for Planning, and we are constantly looking for new planners. In fact, we've just taken on a new person, or will be very soon. This next employee is returning to us, and we actually interviewed 2 people today. Literally today, we're interviewing people. We've got a number of agency workers, which shows you the nationwide picture, because we're reliant upon agency workers because we can't get permanent staff. So although I think 66,000 would be nice, I don't realistically think it will make any difference, which is why I would oppose this. I would love to have 66,000 and think it would make a difference. I really don't think it will. So unfortunately, that's the position there. And I mean, with your second point, an extra £1 million, we've got over £2 million in reserves for temporary accommodation already, which we've not spent. I think to add an additional million before we spend that would be unnecessary. I think, and particularly to take out Broadland growth, I think looking at Broadland growth long term will generate a lot more income, which we can add to reserves or we can put in other areas. So unfortunately, I can't support this. So sorry about that. Thank you.
Councillor Harpley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I thoroughly support this. As many of you will know, I am a long-term champion of social housing, and personally, I would like to see us have this rolled out for long-term tenancies, not just temporary accommodation. But I've been working with people who are in domestic abuse situations, and they cannot afford to leave their abusive partners because they don't want to be stuck in a B&B. They can't afford the heating, and it's just a terrible situation to be in. So if we can free up more accommodation and help people, that's going to improve mental health for families. We have one of the worst rates for children in domestic abuse situations in this county. We need to help people now. And it's not right that people can't leave abusive situations because they've nowhere to go. They're scared of the cost. So I would very much be in favour of this to help increase our capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent. Sean Vincent, that is.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just picking up those key points with this, dealing with the revenue part first in relation to neutrality. I'd just like to correct a few elements that were mentioned in relation to backlogs and issues and problems. There isn't going to be a backlog in planning applications when we get to the point of release from neutrality. The planning team are currently doing all of the work that's necessarily in order for planning applications to be determined, other than the issue relating to neutrality. So that there's not going to be a sudden problem around resourcing to deal with the neutrality once that's resolved. So I don't anticipate there being delays and backlogs as has been stated. But on the other hand, the director of place is at the back of the room there, and he knows only too well that the assistant director is not shy at coming forward when there is a problem or when she does want more resource. So I'm sure we will hear from her long before there is any potential problem that is being described, but it's not envisaged that would come forward. So I don't see a need to change anything on the revenue budget. As far as the capital budget is concerned, again, we have put £2 million aside to enable the purchase and increase of the temporary housing stock, both to relieve a potential problem around funding for the future, which could result us in having to put up council tax for our residents, which we don't want to do while we sit in this cost of living issues. But also will increase the number of temporary accommodation units that are available for people to be used, that are in our direct control, that we can not then be influenced by the market in the way in which we take things forward. So having that lump of money, that size of money available for projects to go forward at this point in time, again, it seems a bit pointless putting more money into that same pot when at this point in time we haven't relieved ourselves of that funding to make that happen. Now, it will happen relatively quickly, we hope. We've already heard about the building that we are hopefully going to purchase, around the 20 units. But as with any property purchase, these things take time, and it is working its way through. Once that's completed, obviously they'll move on to the next project. And at some point, there may be others. But again, we need to see the model deliver and understand the way the model works, to enable us to invest in the right way. So I can't support either of these amendments at this point in time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Kavini Govinloo and then Councillor Beadle.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this purchase of a 20 unit or 20 bed, whatever place it is. But last talking to the housing department, we had 89 families on our waiting lists waiting for accommodation. I have a resident myself, disabled, elderly lady, going to be evicted any day soon. She's got nowhere to go. And the only solution that Broadland could give is a B&B in Great Yarmouth. How are we helping these people now? That's what I would like to ask.
So I'll take questions when we sum up. I'll take other debate. Councillor Beadle.
Thank you, Chair. On the planning officer's budget, I support that. But coming to the homelessness, we're actually ending up having to take the most expensive route here, because once we don't prevent it, we have to deal with it. And prevention is a lot easier, a lot cheaper than cure, and it is also less intrusive to the residents' personal circumstances and their family's personal circumstances. And Mr. Chairman, can I say, if I was to say much more, I think I would fall foul of your chairmanship.
And we'd hate that, wouldn't we? Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I can't quite follow the argument around not needing the additional funding for planning staff. I remember a presentation and discussion in a committee when we were when it was explained how difficult it is to actually recruit planning staff, and the various solutions that were proposed there. One of them being apprenticeships and retraining, and all that will cost to do that. And it's if it's true, and I'm not sure how optimistic we can be that we can overcome the nutrient neutrality issue, you know, in the near future. But if that is so, then we would need certainly planning staff to be able to assess those developments, and there'll be additional work to be carried out in doing that. And I'm not sure where that expertise is going to come from if we haven't budgeted for it. Given that it's already accepted, there is a dearth, you know, a lack of expertise in the planning field. So I support the need to ensure that we had adequate resources to be able to deal with that. On the homelessness issue, I'd echo what has already been said. I have, for example, a constituent in my ward who came to me recently saying, "I'm not going to be able to afford the next rent." And I suspect there are going to be quite a number of other people in the similar circumstance. So this isn't going to, I think, as my fellow councillor has said, the situation we're in terms of cost of living and accommodation crisis is not going to get any better soon. It's only and we need to be prepared to support our residents, because that's what we are as a council, providing a public service to support our residents. So I'd support the amendment.
Okay, thank you. I have another meeting speakers from the floor, so I'll ask for Councillor Holland, and then Councillor Mancini Boyle, and then Councillor Roper.
Thank you. Yes. On Amendment 1, I think one of the things that I would wish to stress really is that, you know, our planning department has been working very hard and has been struggling. In the past, we've seen things where people have waited considerable time for their planning applications to be dealt with. What we're suggesting actually is to give us some flexibility. I don't think we are doing anything that would be untoward. It's a figure that would allow for potentially agency staff or however you might want to deal with that. But you could then have this flexibility, which if you don't add this in, you might find yourself anyway having to come back and ask for some extra money. So it seems to me that it's just prudent to put it in there, and you know, if it doesn't get used, it doesn't get used. So that would be Amendment 1. My second amendment is the issue of the temporary accommodation. I think one of the things that concerns me, I mean, I'm very, very supportive of this, so don't misunderstand me. I supported it when it came through overview and scrutiny, and I continue to support it. But one of the things that I do think is that when this report was brought forward, there was a certain calculation that was made. Since that time, we have not had the fall in interest rates that we were hoping for. Inflation has remained quite high. It's not fallen as fast as people thought. And the new Chancellor did not retain the energy price cap. So in the next few weeks, I would expect that, you know, people are going to be really struggling. There are rents going up because mortgage rates are high. There are people who are actually being evicted because their landlords are selling their properties because they no longer can afford to be landlords. So in this particular market, it really concerns me that there are people who could find themselves unable to afford their rents or even being evicted because their house is being sold. I think to also just reflect on the fact that we've put 7 million aside for Broadland growth over the next 2 years. We're not suggesting that you stop using that, but I would also argue that with the current state of the economy, any investment in property development does carry a significant risk. And I think that for me, that to be able to take some of that funding and use it for the temporary accommodation, which provides a service for our residents immediately, would be why I would urge people to support this particular amendment. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Mancini Boyle.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Right, got to try and remember all this now. So firstly, you wouldn't be surprised to hear I wouldn't accept the amendment. Reasons why. I bow to my fellow cabinet member regarding whether that amount of money would actually make any difference for the first item. And as the leader has said, Helen can always come to us, and she certainly does if she needs something. The other thing is you're saying put 5% aside so you don't have to come back, but what if we need more than 5%? We'd have to come back anyway. How do we know 5% is enough? The portfolio holder doesn't think it would be. So that's why I would reject that one. With regards to the £1 million for temporary accommodation, it may well be that we do move another £1 million into temporary accommodation, but they haven't spent what they've got, and they're struggling at the moment. The officers are struggling to find properties, and what they've got to analyse as well is what type of properties. Because if we go ahead and get this big 20 unit, we're not going to necessarily want another unit of 20. So they really need to model what size units we actually do need. So I don't see any point at the moment in moving £1 million out of Broadland Growth. And actually, what if Broadland Growth does a project that involves temporary accommodation? That could even happen because everything is being looked at. So I just think this is a bit previous to move any money because it doesn't need to be at the moment. Let's see if we do need to. I don't know why Councillor Davis thinks he knows better than the portfolio holder on what we need regarding planning officers with nutrient neutrality. You seem to imply that you think that is not going to be enough. Apparently, the portfolio holder and the leader think they are capable of dealing with it. And as for, I appreciate there are people in dire straits, definitely. And as I spoke earlier, we have delivered £7.9 million in grants to people, cost of living grants. And there are grants there. There is even one called Whatever It Takes grant that the officers have put money aside in. So I would say the first port of call, if anyone is in that situation, is you go to the Help Hub, and doors are never closed on anyone. So yeah, nobody will be left not helped, I can assure you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Roper.
Thank you. Some interesting responses from the cabinet members on the planning issue. On one side, the portfolio holder, Councillor Wymark, details all the difficulties in recruitment and the need for agency staff and the problems there, which actually doesn't underline actually why this amendment should go through, to actually give you more flexibility in that. On the other hand, we've got the Deputy Leader, Councillor Mancini-Boyle, saying, well, actually, you're only asking for 5%. We might need 10%. We don't know how much we need. And rather kind of talking down actually the numbers within her own budget. My own sense is that 5% is a good starting point to give the flexibility that may be required in the year going forwards. With regard to the capital amendment, I always felt a little bit put out when I heard the leader say the word pointless when we're talking about temporary accommodation and spending an extra £1 million towards homelessness. And I was rather hoping when the deputy leader spoke that she would step away from that, and she was to a great extent. And then she said, I don't see the point. And then said we might spend the money anyway through another means. So a rather confused response again from the cabinet members. I think bottom line on this is that at the moment we've got £1 million allocated to investments next year, which we don't know, sorry, in 24, 25, which we don't know what they are. For goodness sakes, let's move that forward into 23, 24 and spend it on what we really know is needed in this district, with the risk of homelessness rising and with need rising. It's a spend to save at this stage, and we're going to save a huge amount of misery if we move forward quicker on this policy than we're currently proposing to do so.
Thank you. Okay. Can we go to the vote? This is a recorded vote. That'll be the same as last time. Names will be read out. We'll wait for Vincent and see which vote order it is.
I'll let you can wait and see what happens. Okay. Councillor Beadle.
For the amendment.
Sorry, Councillor Beadle.
For the
For.
amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan.
Against.
Councillor Britcher.
For.
Councillor Bullman.
Yes.
Councillor Crotch.
Against.
Councillor Davis. For. Councillor Eden. Councillor Emsall.
Against.
Councillor Fisher.
Yes.
Councillor Folger.
Against.
Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley. Sorry, is that 4, Councillor Hartley? 4. Councillor Hensel.
Against.
Councillor Holland. Councillor Karini Guvan Lee. Councillor Kelly.
Against.
Councillor King.
Against.
Councillor Lamming. Councillor Lawn.
Against.
Councillor Lawrence.
4.
Councillor J Leggett.
Against.
Councillor K Leggett.
Against.
Councillor Mackey.
Against.
Councillor Mancini Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Murrell.
Against.
Councillor Nurdin.
Against.
Councillor Potter.
Against.
Councillor Roper.
For.
Councillor Starling. Councillor D Thomas.
For.
Councillor K Vincent.
Against.
Councillor S Vincent.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
Against.
And Councillor Wymark.
Against.
That's 12 for and 22 against. The amendment is lost.
Okay, thank you. I think that now takes us back to the substantive motion, which
We've had a proposer and a seconder. It feels like a long time ago.
it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
We're
yeah.
now going to debate on
I'm-
the substantive.
I'm so pleased then Emma's by my right hand side to remind me of where we are. So we have had a proposer and a seconder, and I'll now open the floor for debate. Councillor Holland.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. Just reiterate where we were last year, basically, because we did support the budget last year. We did call for a rate freeze. So we were very pleased to see that happen. We actually also called for a rate freeze for this year. So again, we will be supporting this budget. I think it's disappointing that some things perhaps haven't been covered, but we, on the whole, are very pleased to see that given that we have such high rates of reserves, that we are using those to keep the council tax rates as low as we are. I think it is interesting that the Broadland Council has managed to build up such a substantial amount of reserves over the years, which does slightly suggest that we could perhaps have kept our council tax rates a bit lower than we originally did. However, having said that, I'm still prepared to support the budget as it stands now. Thank you.
I don't appear to have anybody else wishing to speak. Oh, sorry, Councillor Emsall.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent budget. We're achieving so much. We're leading the way in Norfolk. We have so much that we are working on, so many projects that are above and beyond. You know, they are real special projects. I'd like to thank all the staff that we have because they're really engaged with making the services we offer so good that we can do all this and still not have a council tax rise. It is absolutely amazing the work we are doing.
Thank you much. I'll call on. Oh, sorry, didn't. My apologies. Well spotted. Yeah, I got new glasses. I thought they were working. Councillor Davis.
I'll wave with two hands next time. Sorry. I think, as has already been said, I mean, a council is there to provide a public service, a service to support residents and businesses within its district. As we've discussed, there are funds designated, for example, in Broadland Growth at a time when house building has been paused due to nutrient neutrality, that is available. And as argued in the amendment, this provides the opportunities to supplement any government grants that may be secured. And as Councillor Laming said, that allows us to then establish our own criteria and gives us that flexibility. So that funding could have multiple benefits for our district. in enhancement of the energy efficiency of our housing stock, assistance to individuals and families, as we discussed in the amendments, which can add to a contribution to reducing carbon emissions, urgently needed, and providing further employment opportunities through these schemes. The capital programme report states that the current programme of 25.3 million will be financed from capital receipts, grants and revenue reserves. Reserves are above what is normally recommended, has been said, for local authorities to maintain, which suggests we could have had the funding to provide additional services at a time when they're clearly needed. And they are needed. And the reserves are there. And if the Cabinet is worried about delving into the reserves, the Treasury Management Strategy, page 56, comments on expected investment returns. It's been assumed that investment earnings on short-term and money market related instruments will achieve a rate of return of 3% for 2023-24. And an investment return is being generated on externally managed funds of approximately £25,000 a month. So on the basis of these assumptions, the expected investment return, which has already been said for 23-24, has been calculated as over £1 million. So the Council is able to support additional expenditure, we would argue. It's there. The Green Party believes there is a strong case for utilising available and future funds for the benefit of our residents struggling with the cost of living and energy crisis. So we believe this Council can be much more ambitious in providing meaningful services with the funds that have been demonstrated to be available at this challenging time. An argument can be made for investing in the infrastructure to deliver council services, but let's recognise that a higher proportion of the council's budget has recently been spent on running itself rather than delivering services for place and people, when you look at the figures. It's often said Broadland is a consistently low-spending council. Well, it's about how much funding you have to spend per head, which is actually across Norfolk the lowest. So we're not actually providing the services that we could. The LGA data indicates that it's reduced spending per head by 5% since 2017-18, lower than its statistically near neighbours. And from 21-22 to 22-23, reduced spending per head at a time when others were increasing spending per head during a period of COVID pandemic and emerging cost of living pressures. So recognising that situation, and the situation faced by many residents, and the need to support those hard to reach in our geographically spread and rural district. I mean, we recognise the Community Help Hub has been doing a great job in providing support and guidance, working with community groups and individuals to plug the gaps and signpost to services that might be able to help those in need. The Mindfulness Towns and Villages is another initiative that, together with mental health champions, seeks to plug the gaps through the failure of our statutory services. We need to recognise that. We need to recognise these services often depend on charitable bodies seeking funding wherever they can find it. And it's all that competition for funds and volunteers to provide the valued support. On the one hand, it demonstrates a wonderful community spirit we have to assist our neighbours requiring support, but to expect these voluntary bodies and the volunteers to provide essential services on unpredictable short-term budgets in place of professional public services is surely asking too much and is unsustainable. So the examples given in the proposed amendments to the budget demonstrate there are opportunities at a time of a cost of living, energy and climate crisis to better utilise funding for more progressive schemes to support residents. And that's what we would have liked to have seen within this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I have Councillor Harpley.
Thank you, Chair. I won't wang on for much longer. Everything has already been said, really. So just to say that we are very happy to support it. We have always supported trying to keep council tax as low as possible. And I'm sure it'll be a real vote winner just before an election.
Okay, and I think I can now go to the secondary reserved right to speak, Councillor Sean Vincent.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's interesting hearing the different things that have been said this evening in support of the services and deliveries of the council. But this is a Conservative-led council, and it is a council of action. We have, for many years, and continue to do so, have strong financial management at the heart of what we do. That's why we are in such a good position when so many other councils aren't. We are extremely ambitious, and the plans are laid out before us in the capital strategy, the delivery plan. But all these plans are fully funded within what we can do. The action is about what we do and how we do it, and we've demonstrated that so well and so clearly in the things that we've taken forward for our residents. For business, we deliver for them time and time and time again. We've not shied away from doing things that are different to others. We've built the Broadland Food Innovation Centre, the only one in Norfolk and Suffolk. It's a tremendous facility that will give a return back to this council, but will also support the local economy, provide jobs, and enable the food industry in the locality of Broadland to reduce its food mileage and do more of its processing locally, which has got to be seen as a good thing around the reduction of carbon and carbon emissions. We've rolled out food waste across the entire district. This is an aspiration that the government wants to happen, but hasn't happened. But we've done it anyway. We've made it happen. We're that sort of council. And we've done it without increasing council tax. We're still moving forward on the net zero. We want to achieve that. We will achieve it by 2030. The question is, how soon before 2030 do we get there? This coming year, we will remove 80% of our carbon footprint. How amazing is that? Again, done without increasing council tax. We do provide services. We do provide the support for those who are vulnerable and for those who are in need. As we've already heard, our Help Hub is an exemplar. It's held up. Others want something similar. That others want to copy it. But it's not about that. It's not about the accolades. It's about the amazing work that they do in supporting our residents who are in need and at the time of need. So we have before us a budget that has been pulled together by our amazing One team that gives their view of the resource and the funding that will be needed to deliver our services, our quality services going forward. And that's why the budget has the numbers in it that it has. These are the right numbers that we need to deliver going forward. So I'm really pleased to second this budget and put that to the council, that we again this year freeze council tax. For the second year in a row, we are freezing the Broadland element of council tax. We are doing all we can to support our residents at this point in time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mancini, one, please.
I'm thrilled, actually, that looks like cross-party. You are going to support the budget. It isn't the first time, I know. It's been a pleasure to have it cross-party before. With regards to, I just want to say one thing. Just something Councillor Roper said. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's pointless to move any more money in there at the moment until they need it. If they can find properties, then that's another story. So yeah, summing up, I think I've probably said quite enough tonight anyway, and the leader has responded. So I'll leave it to Emma to do the vote.
We'll take each item separately.
Okay, so councillors, the first recommendation we are voting on now is the revenue budget and council tax for 23-24. Again, please indicate for, against or abstain. Councillor Beadle.
For.
Councillor Brennan.
For.
Councillor Britcher.
For.
Councillor Bullman. Councillor Crotch.
For.
Councillor Davis.
For.
Councillor Eden.
For.
Councillor Emsall.
For.
Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Folger.
For.
Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley. Councillor Hensel. Councillor Holland. Councillor Creamy Van Loo. Councillor Kelly.
For.
Councillor King.
For.
Councillor Laming. Councillor Lawn. Councillor Lawrence. Councillor J Leggett. Councillor K Leggett.
For.
Councillor Mackey.
For.
Councillor Mancini Boyle. Councillor Morrell.
For.
Councillor Nerdon. Councillor Potter.
For.
Councillor Roper.
For.
Councillor Starling. Councillor D Thomas.
For.
Councillor K Vincent. Councillor S Vincent.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
And Councillor Wymark.
For.
That's unanimous. Right, next, capital strategy and capital programme, same rules apply. Councillor Beadle. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Britcher. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Crotch. Councillor Davis. Councillor Eden. Councillor Emsall. Councillor Fisher. Councillor Folger. Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley. Councillor Hensel. Councillor Holland. Councillor Creamy Van Loo. Councillor Kelly. Councillor King. Councillor Laming. Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Lawn. Councillor J Leggett. Councillor K Leggett. Councillor Mackey. Councillor Mancini Boyle. Councillor Morrell. Councillor Nerdon. Councillor Potter. Councillor Roper. Councillor Starling. Councillor D Thomas. Councillor K Vincent. Councillor S Vincent. Councillor Ward. Councillor Wymark. Finally, council tax resolution on page 108 of your council agenda. Councillor Beadle. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Britcher. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Crotch. Councillor Davis. Councillor Eden. Councillor Emsall. Councillor Fisher. Councillor Folger. Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley. Councillor Hensel. Councillor Holland. Councillor Creamy Van Loo. Councillor Kelly. Councillor King. Councillor Laming. Councillor Lawn. Councillor Lawrence. Councillor J Leggett. Councillor K Leggett. Councillor Mackey. Councillor Mancini Boyle. Councillor Morrell. Councillor Nerdon. Councillor Potter. Councillor Roper. Councillor Starling. Councillor D Thomas. Councillor K Vincent. Councillor S Vincent. Councillor Ward. And Councillor Wymark. That's also unanimous as well, Chairman.
Moving on to council tax resolution. Somebody like to, sorry. My microphone's not on. That was lucky, wasn't it? Absolutely. The pay policy statement 23-24. Can I invite Councillor Emsall to speak on this, please?
Hi, we'll do the pay policy statement on page 77. The Localism Act requires the pay policy statements to cover certain aspects of the remuneration policy, especially the relating to the highest and lowest paid staff. Section 2.1 of the council report states what the statement must include, and this can be found in Appendix A. The statement also needs to include pay, allowances, benefits in kind, increases, enhancements of pension entitlements, and termination payments, again within Appendix A. The statement must be approved by council this evening and then published on the website by the 31st of March 2023. This is a statutory obligation that we have to do this. So the recommendation on page 79 is that the council approves the content of the Broadland District Council's 23-24 pay policy statement as attached in advance of its publications on the council's website by the 31st of March 2023.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Kelly, thank you. Thank you. Any debate? No? Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. It's carried. Okay. Report of the monitoring officer. Can I ask Councillor Vincent, Sean Vincent, to present this, and item regarding the Vice Chairman of the Council will be taken separately.
Thank you, Chairman. You've got the report before you. Just highlight a few things within that. The table 3.1 sets out the percentage splits, and table 4.1 sets out the allocations. Those members that are joining the committees are listed at 4.4, and I'd just like to make some amendments to those or add some names to that list. The awards panel we're leaving vacant as that does not meet before May, and it seems no need to put someone on that for a committee that's not meeting. Licensing and regulatory, we would put Tony Adams and Nigel Brennan on those. Member development, Councillor Brennan is going to join that one. Planning committee, Councillor Hemsel is joining that one. And service improvement and efficiency committee, Councillor Crotch is joining that one. As far as appointments of chairman and vice chairman, and I guess I'd just like to pause at this point in time because it really hits home the amount of work that Councillor Sue Prutton did when you see her name appearing in so many of these things to be replaced. She was an amazing person who worked very hard for our council, and I think she did us proud in the things that she did for us, where she represented us, and will be missed by us all. The chairman and vice chairman replacements are listed before you. Again, the chairman of Communities, Housing and Planning panel will be Councillor Brennan. Vice chair of the Peas panel will be Councillor Adams, and vice chair of licensing and regulatory will be Councillor Bullman. And I thank all of those for stepping up into those. We then have the outside bodies, and again have a similar need to replace on this list, which we will sadly have to do. And again, I'd like to thank councillors for stepping in and taking up these places and going forward and representing Broadland Council as they will. So that list is before you. The last item that I need to deal with at 4.9 is the deputy electoral registration officers. And again, as we move forward into the election period, it is necessary for us to appoint 2 additional registration officers or deputy registration officers, and that would be Emma Hodds and Nicola Tuldluck as deputy EROs. So the recommendations are on page 96, 6.1 through to 6.7, but not 6.6. 6.3 is amended with the additions that I've added to that, and I make that recommendation to council.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Councillor Emsall, thank you. Councillor Roper?
Thank you. I certainly echo the leader's words on Councillor Prutton, and it does hit home how much work she did on this council. I think we'll treat the Liberal Democrat vacancy on appeals of the same basis as you are with awards. It's not scheduled to meet. In the unlikely event that it does meet, we'll hopefully get somebody appointed under delegated authority who can make the meeting. We don't need to do that tonight. The only other comment I'd make is I think the report is a little bit over familiar towards Councillor Eden. I've been here 12 years and nobody has called me Councillor Dan in a report yet. Councillor Eden hasn't been here very long and yet he's Councillor Calix. And I think that's a little bit unfair.
We know that correction, Councillor Roper.
Councillor Dan.
So,
Councillor Dan.
Councillor Dan, yeah.
First time.
Okay, can we have show of hands on those then, please? Thank you very much indeed. And now going back to point 6.6. Can I have nominations for the new Vice Chairman of the Council? Councillor Nurden.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to nominate Councillor Ken Kelly for the role of Vice Chairman of the Council. He is very capable of supporting our Chairman through to the next AGM.
Do you have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Folger, thank you. Do you have any other nominations? Okay, can we have a show of hands on that? Oh, sorry, Councillor Holland. No, you don't want to speak. You sure? Okay, fine. Right, can we have a show of hands on that then, please? We will need to count those. Or do it.
Councillor Bullman. Councillor Bullman. Councillor Bullman, Eve. Thank you. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, Chairman.
And those against?
Abstention.
Abstentions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Moving on. Sorry. Welcome, Councillor Kelly. Would you like to come and take your seat next to Councillor Vincent? And welcome to the top table.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Outside organisations. I'd like to thank Councillor Leggett for her report from the Waste Partnership, and just remind other councillors that that do represent us on outside bodies. We do like to hear and see at council meetings how they've got on. Moving on to questions from members, we have a few. Can I invite Councillor Laming first to put her question? I will remind people that we now are on time allowed comments, speeches. So it's 2 minutes allowed, and then 5 minutes to respond, and then 1 minute for supplementary and 2 minutes after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I note that in the Norfolk Devolution Deal document, which was published on the 8th of December last year, paragraph 31 says, Norfolk County Council will be scrutinised and held to account for their devolution deal by the Council's Scrutiny Committee. The Chair of Scrutiny Committee will be appointed by Council and will be an opposition member, normally the leader of the main opposition party, and shall not be a member of a registered political party of which the directly elected leader is also a member. Broadland's Overview and Scrutiny Committee is currently chaired by a member of the governing political party. Would Broadland please consider changing its constitution to require the above arrangements to be in place for its Overview and Scrutiny Committee from May 2023? Thank you.
Can I ask the leader to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. The quick answer is no. The longer answer is I'm a little surprised you asked. As you know, when we wanted to change the chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, the role was in fact made available to your group and to yourself to take that up, and you chose not to at that time. So that was all prior to Councillor Murrell taking up his role, which he now does very well for the council, holds cabinet to account, and drives through what is required from a scrutiny point of view in a way that is fair and just in the way in which he carries himself. So from that point of view, I think we have found a very good person to do that role at this point in time. And I wouldn't want to see a constitutional change that requires us to change that chairman at this point. So I don't see a need to do that. So there's a long answer, but the answer is still no.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have a supplementary question, but I probably ought to clarify that when I was approached and asked if I'd like to be chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, I was actually very new to the council and I was not leader of the main opposition party. And those are the words currently in the Norfolk devolution deal document paragraph. So I'm making a suggestion that Broadland might like to consider introducing that here. But thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Okay. I invite Councillor Karimi Gilman-Lou.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to go back to the never-ending story. I understand 4 of the famous corgis were auctioned off on the 2nd of February, making a fraction of the purchase cost, with the proceeds going to Nelson's Journey, a very worthwhile charity. Could the portfolio holder inform this council how much the total cost of refurbishment of the corgis was before they were sold and the net loss to the council in financial terms? Also, this council was informed recently that 1 corgi has gone to Sandringham, but Broadland are keeping the other 2. Where will these be displayed and why do we need 2?
Councillor Mancini-Moore.
Thank you for the question. Not surprised to see it come back again, obviously. Sorry? Firstly, can I say we've got completely different ideas regarding the corgis, clearly. I don't see this as a loss to the council. However, your question seems to approach this from a far different angle. The corgis were commissioned as a tribute to our late Queen. They were never meant to be seen as a commercial exercise. I personally, and I know other Conservative members, are very proud that Broadland District Council took the opportunity to recognise a once-in-a-lifetime event. Many districts didn't. As far as I'm concerned, that is shame on them. The corgis were placed all over the district for everyone to enjoy. They did that in their droves with so many photo opportunities. This brought in opportunities for our local businesses to enjoy the extra footfall. In fact, we've even heard from the family of the original breeder of the corgi, Susan, who were absolutely thrilled to see them. This was particularly poignant as they live in the district. At the outset, there was no decision around the fate of the corgis. As I'd previously stated, we may auction them. This, like I said, was never the point in commissioning them. After they all came home from their summer away, the decision was made to see if the king would accept Susan as a gift. By that time, we had lost our queen. I'm so delighted he accepted, and she is now at her new home in Sandringham, where we'll all be able to see her again. I emailed our late vice chairman that night. She sadly died, the night she sadly died, to advise her of that. She would have been thrilled because the corgi's name was Susan. Unfortunately, I fear she didn't see my email. So the facts are that the figures given last summer around the cost of the 7 corgis hasn't changed, obviously, apart from the cost of the pampering, which amounted to £1,080 for all 7. £2,140 has been donated to Nelson's Journey. In fact, the chairman, the leader, and myself handed over the cheque this afternoon. As far as why we have kept 2, one is for our new home at the Horizon, and the other could be available to go on tour as and when events are held. For instance, we took a corgi to the Norfolk Show, and we also took one to the Community at Hearts Awards. Both times, it was a great hit. I hope this answers your question and now closes the loop. I feel like something so lovely is being made so political, and that just wasn't necessary.
Do you have a follow-up question?
I do. I'm not making this political. My argument with you right from the beginning was this money could have been used better. Okay. Do you realise these corgis are up now for auction at £1,500 to £2,000 each? Someone is making big money out of these. And I don't think it's right. And I think the money should have gone to the charity. Nelson's Journey would have been a lot better.
I did find out that 2 of the corgis went back onto re-auction today, and they failed to sell with a reserve of £1,000. They didn't sell. We have no control on whoever's purchased them. It is what it is. I can't control that. And it's interesting you say your problem with me. So it's quite personal. No, you said me. No, you did. You did. You said me. And yeah, the other thing, yes, you did. You wanted all the parishes to have, I think it was £200 or something like around that figure. Now, as I have said repeatedly, I feel like this was meant to be a district tribute. If we'd have given money to parishes and towns, they've got their own money to put on some kind of event. As I've said to you again before, we had a very large event in Thorpe St Andrew, and we'll do the same again for the coronation. And as I said, I don't see any point in this coming back anymore, because the facts are the facts now. And as far as I'm concerned, like I said, the loop is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I invite Councillor Roper for his question. Oh, sorry, no. My apologies. But I'll try to keep the order of the agenda, and I'll invite Councillor Calix Eden, using both your names.
It's Dan. This is the first time I've used this, so excuse me if anything goes wrong. I am very concerned about the implications of voter ID for May the 4th and subsequent elections. Official estimates suggest up to 2 million people in the UK do not have the right ID. Inevitably, some will be in Broadland. Many other voters do not know of the changes, including several constituents I have spoken to. We do not have mandatory ID in this country, and it is confusing for most constituents which photo ID they can use, even if they have photo ID, and even if they know of this requirement. The primary aim of any elected councillor should be to ensure constituents can freely vote, not to put unnecessary and confusing barriers in their way. That will result in lower turnout. Please answer the following questions. 1, how many voter authority certificates have Broadland issued? 2, how can Broadland justify the expense of this measure, not least in staff time and training, when there are so many other urgent demands on our council? 3, are Broadland proactively reaching out to groups such as the elderly, minorities and young voters? 4, are Broadland's training voting clerks to deal with multiple acceptable forms of ID? And 5, will Broadland commit to proper evaluation after May to see if local voters have in effect been disenfranchised?
Councillor Vincent, can I ask you to respond?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the question. Like you, I am also very concerned with the introduction of photo ID. To answer your specific question on this, as at the 20th of February, Broadland had issued 38 voter authority certificates, the CASs, via the government portal. Moving on to the second part of your question in relating to how can we justify this, what I would say to you is this isn't our choice. We didn't choose to do this. We have to do this. There is new burden fundings, which will be provided to local authorities to cover the additional costs as a result of the new legislation. Funding will be provided through a hybrid approach comprising of grant payments and something that's called a justification lead bids. And if you want to know more about that, I'll have to pass that over to the managing director to pick up the answer to your question. A single grant payment has already been received, and the elections team are keeping a track of costs. Should we need to apply for a further justification lead bids, then we will do so. Initial funding will be received for the first 2 years of this. Then following funding will be paid at the general election. The third part of your question related to proactively reaching out to groups. And what I can tell you is that the council has been amazingly proactive in reaching out to groups. It's using a wide range of communication channels to ensure that the message around voter ID reaches as many residents as it can possibly. These channels include, but are not limited to, because we keep adding to them, local newspapers, TV and radio, information on our website, regular posts on our social media channels, working with our parish and town council network, working with community groups, charities and libraries, providing posters and flyers throughout the district, direct mail such as council tax inserts, and the council magazine itself, Broadland News, also carries details of photo ID. Moving on to the part about training. Yes, of course, we will provide training, and we will ensure that all polling station staff receive detailed training. We'll be using the online training provided by the Association of Electoral Administrators, which is the organisation recognised by election professionals. This will be supplemented with face-to-face training for all our presiding officers to ensure they understand the new requirements and are confident in the processes that are needed to be followed. Last part of the question related to the effect once the election has happened and how that's impacted. The Elections Act puts a statutory duty on the Secretary of State to report on the effects on the new rules on the first set of elections in 2023 and the first 2 parliamentary elections after that. The Electoral Commission is likely to report on this also. All presiding officers will be required to complete a voter identification evaluation form, which has a snappy acronym, and anonymised collected results must be sent to DLUC for them to collate the responses that have come through. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor?
Thank you for an honest and full answer. I think the fact that there are 38 voter certificates says that shows that the message isn't getting through. And in fact, I talked to residents who have no idea about it, including, amazingly enough, somebody who was contracted to work for the council. So we need a much bigger campaign. And I really hope we remember that what we're here for as councillors, and that's to give a voice to everyone, and not only those with the right idea.
I will just invite Trevor to head up.
Chairman, thank you. And Councillor, whilst your question was addressed to the leader and right, the leader responded. For the benefit of anybody who is watching this, it's important to make the point that whilst the elections clearly bring you as councillors into your office, the responsibility for delivery of election does not fall to the council. It falls to myself as the returning officer and sits outside of the political process. Just to make sure there's no ambiguity for anybody who's watching. I support your comments around campaign. There's an ever increasing national campaign, and Broadland has a strong reputation for engaging with hard to reach groups, and in fact is one of the national leads for particularly around partially sighted. We've already done interviews with the talking newspapers and the like. Your points are well noted and we're on it.
Thank you. Now could I invite Councillor Dan Roper?
Thank you. Please could the portfolio holder for environmental excellence give her views on the County Council proposal to close the Matonwood Recycling Centre?
Thank you for your question, which I was slightly surprised to receive, but always welcome questions. This, of course, is a county council issue, not a Broadland District Council issue. That's where the responsibility sits. And perhaps you'd like to tell us what the result of the meeting was on Tuesday. Because I understand that page 82 of the papers said there was a proposal to relocate Matonwood to the Norwich North Recycling Centre, and that would require a public consultation. What I think we as a Broadland Council should do is to make sure that our residents know where the recycling centres are, and we are able to do that very ably through our Broadland app, which will direct you to your nearest recycling centre. But as I say, this is a county council decision, not a Broadland. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, well, the portfolio holder is of course absolutely right that there is going to be a consultation on this proposed closure. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the portfolio holder if she agrees with the proposal which is going to go out to that consultation, and whether she supports a reduction in the number of recycling centres available to Broadland residents.
Thank you for your supplementary question. I shall wait and see exactly what the consultation says, but I shall also look forward to the meeting next Tuesday of the Norfolk Waste Partnership, where I'm sure I will be given further information. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just mention that app is absolutely amazing. I love it. Right. Okay. Moving on. There are no motions. I need to remove the press and the public, despite the fact there's two people going that don't need to go. You can stay. Anyway, I move that the press and the public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining items of business, because otherwise information which is exempt information by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as amended by the Local Government Access to Information Variation Order 2006, would be disclosed to them. And can we go? Everyone has moved. Thank you. Can we go over to item 21?